Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hello and good evening, good morning and good afternoon, depending on your time and place, wherever you are joining from. First of all, I would like to thank all the participants for joining this webinar. I am Mohammad Johorul Islam, a PhD candidate at University Putra, Malaysia, will be the moderator for this evening. This event, entitled How to Convert a Research Finding into a Business Idea, is jointly organized by the General Union of Palestinian Students at University Putra, Malaysia and the Egyptian Students Association at University Putra, Malaysia. At the very beginning of tonight's webinar, I would like to request you all to mute your microphone to avoid any kind of technical and unexpected interruptions. Now, let me invite the Honorable President of the General Union of Palestinian Students at University Putra, Malaysia, Mr. Taufik, on the stage for the welcoming remarks. Over to you, Mr. President.
Thank you so much, Zahur. Good morning, every good evening, all of you. I hope you are fine and good health. On behalf of the General Union of Palestinian Students at University Putra, Malaysia, and the Egyptian Students Association at University Putra, Malaysia, and the webinar organizing committee, I would like to thank and really appreciate Dr. Omar Sakr for accepting our invitation to share with us the knowledge and his scientific life experience. And I would like to thank all of you for being here with us and attending this webinar titled How to Convert a Research Finding into a Business Idea. So for more knowledge about this topic, let us welcome Dr. Omar Sakr. The floor is yours.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Again, according to your time zones and locations. It's absolutely my pleasure to be with you today. Thank you so much for the organizing committee for giving me this opportunity. I've been always a big fan of the ecosystem in Malaysia. You guys have a very diversified and advanced and modern educational ecosystem. So I applaud you for that, and I wish you all the best. I will share my screen now, so please hold on for a second with me. I ask the host to give me the approval to share my screen, please. So it's in the security options down below with this shield icon.
Can you please switch on your camera so that I can give you the access?
No, it's not related to the camera. It's down below in the with the shield icon. You'll see the first option is allow invitees to share their screen.
Actually, I think you have to switch on your camera first.
Yeah, sure. Hold on, please.
I think you are host now. I think you can.
Yes, yeah, I figured it out. Yeah, so I guess it's working now.
Yeah, I think you are now host, so you can share your screen.
Yes. So do you see my screen now?
Yes.
Perfect. Unfortunately, I just have some problems with my camera. It's not working properly. It's of no use to open it right now. But I'm happy that you can see my screen. So this will do the job for now. Okay. Let me start by introducing myself and the topic of today, and exactly why I am so passionate about this particular topic. So my name is Omar Sakr. I'm a fellow pharmacist. I graduated in 2005, so I've been in the field for about 16, 17 years now. For the past 15 years of my life, I was an academic. So I did my master's degree here in the German University in Cairo. Then I went to Berlin, Germany, went for industry for a couple of years at a small biotech company called Capsolution in Berlin. Then I went to Geneva. I got my PhD degree from there, again in the pharmaceutical sciences. But at that time, I got in contact with the startup ecosystem. I found like everyone leaving academia and starting the so-called startups. I had no idea about the term back then in time. So I went around to see what is actually a startup, how are you guys converting what you have learned into successful businesses, and then I could see it firsthand how big pharma companies are coming and acquiring those young startups, and how those inventions actually find their way into the market. I found it very inspiring to the extent that I decided myself to quit academia and become a full-time entrepreneur. But because I had zero knowledge at that time, so I went to London first. I got my MBA degree to study business in depth, and then I went back to Egypt to start my company, Nawah Scientific. I will use so many different stories that I have been personally encountered in during this presentation. So I will postpone introducing you to my company to the last part of my presentation. Beside being an entrepreneur, I'm still like an adjunct position. I have an adjunct position as an associate professor of entrepreneurship at Zuwil City of Science and Technology, where I teach my students the basics of entrepreneurship, how to build a company, how to realize a problem, how to raise funds, and so on and so forth, of the basic entrepreneurial skills. Usually when I tell the story of how would you convert a research finding into a business idea, I would love to start with this part. I have some numbers from the ecosystem here in Egypt and in the Middle East. Unfortunately, I don't have similar numbers in Malaysia, but let me tell you the story how things are here, and I can totally believe that you can relate almost similar figures to different countries, and I mean different developing countries. We share the same problems. So here in Egypt, Middle East and Africa, we have a huge untapped biotech potential. I typically start by challenging people to guess how many Egyptian researchers are there in schools of pharmacy, veterinary science, and agriculture. And by this, I mean how many scientists are working in the field, like actually working, not a part-time job, not passionate about science. I'm here speaking about full-time, fully paid scientists. In Egypt, we have about 150K, so 150,000 scientists every single day going to their lab, putting on their white coat and starting to innovate something. Yes, so this is what they're paid for. Now, the burning question is, how much of these efforts resulted in startups? How much of those daily inventions of the 150,000 scientists were translated into inventions? I will jump directly to the answer. It is unfortunately very low number, way below even 1%. This finding put myself and the team on a journey of trying to find answers for this ununderstandable situation. We worked a couple of years to get answers for this question, And what I can tell you is, at least in Egypt, and I believe so in Malaysia, in all developing countries, we do not have problems with human caliber. The problem is mainly with the knowledge, because no one has taught us how to convert your research into the market, or research findings into business ideas, how to push them forward to the market. So there is an educational gap in our syllabuses, in our curricula, that prevents us from thinking this way forward. But we have no problem at all with the human caliber or our ability to innovate. Because if we assume that even 1%, just 1% of the total, at least here in Egypt, scientific population can bring their ideas to the market. So out of 150,000 researchers, at least we should find something like 1,500 companies, which is not the case. So as you see, I hope I could bring your interest to the fact that there is a huge untapped potential. And what I will be trying to do today is to inspire you with some systematic method on how to judge which ideas can be pushed to the market, how can you make money out of your ideas, and a bit of stories of myself. So this is the agenda of my talk today. It's divided into 3 parts. In the very first part, I will be discussing from idea perspective, and trying to help you guys answer the question of which ideas can be pushed to the market. Does any idea fit being a business idea? Would any idea make a success to the market or not? Okay, hold on, please. I'll give back the hosting function to our colleagues in Malaysia. Okay, اسمه إيه؟ محمد. Okay, I guess it's all solved now. So this will be the very first part, discussing ideas, and then we move forward with those ideas to discuss how would we make money out of those ideas. Is it only one way, 2 ways, 3 ways, different ways? So I will basically show you 8 different ways of how you can transform your idea into a cash generating machine, which we call a business model. And finally, I will be sharing 3 personal stories of 3 different companies I myself founded. One of them, alhamdulillah, has succeeded. One of them has died very early, and one of them is still stuck in the so-called zombie state. So Walking Dead, it's not dead, but it's not alive either. Okay, let's start with the first part, discussing the ideas. And let me say this. Now you have got an idea, and the question is, should you push that idea to the market? To make this discussion as lively as possible, I will not go through theoretical bases or theoretical schemes. I'll be sharing directly a story of a friend of mine called Layla. Layla is a researcher in the veterinary school, and I mentored her for a little bit with ideas she got, and we tried to push this to the market. So what I'm going to give you now is the scheme of questions that you should be asking yourself, but I will be answering those questions through the story of Layla. So first question is, what problem do you solve? My friend Layla was working on developing, or let's say, solving the problem of zinc deficiency in animal feed. Because she comes from a veterinary background, she's aware that zinc is essential in the animal feed. It helps the transformation rate to meat and milk. And zinc deficiency would basically result in low transformational rates. What usually happens is that a farmer or the farm manager would add zinc salts to the feed. The problem is absorption of zinc from the salt state is not so high. So although they add zinc to the feed, the absorption is low, and therefore Dr. Laila was working on developing a nanoparticle formulation of zinc for better absorption to the animal feed. So her answer was the following: I developed a biological system that can produce easily absorbed zinc nanoparticle to enrich the animal feed. So she believes she solves the zinc deficiency in animal feed. Actually, the second question is a little bit funny. What problem do you really solve? What Dr. Laila has figured out is that some microorganisms, when they are fed with zinc salts, they produce zinc nanoparticles as a waste, subhanAllah. And all you have to do is to extract this microbiological waste and add it directly to the animal feed. It's 100% safe, 100% natural, no chemicals induced, and it is super rich with zinc nanoparticles. What Dr. Laila has figured out is actually not only solving the problem of zinc deficiency in animal feed, she solved the basic idea or the basic technology of producing zinc nanoparticles. What would you use those zinc nanoparticles for is totally up to you. So it's not only the problem of zinc deficiency in animal feed, but it can be the use of zinc nanoparticles in, I don't know, catalysis, chemical productions, oil manufacturing, anything that uses zinc nanoparticles. So after discussion, she now realizes that the problem she really solved was the production of zinc nanoparticles. This paradigm shift on how we think and see our research results can, as we say, it make it or break it. It can make all the difference in life with our invention, and it can break all the potential that is in our invention as well. So you typically need to step back and have a wider look on the research finding that you have found, because as scientists, of course, we all have our research projects, so we do research oriented to one thing, but meanwhile, we develop ideas and experiments that can have bigger benefit than the original research project. Okay, third question is, how big is your problem? Building on the two questions before, the bigger your problem is, the bigger the odds that you will have a better and more successful company. Because when you solve a bigger problem, you actually can sell to a bigger market, and bigger market means more or a bigger number of clients, and a bigger number of clients means a bigger opportunity for you to have sales and therefore have a profitable company. Now, discussing this with Dr. Laila, we agreed that she should count the global production of zinc nanoparticles and how many industries would benefit from that. So again, not only the zinc deficiency in animal feed, but every single application that can benefit from zinc nanoparticles. Finally, to judge on your idea, you should ask your question, is your solution realistic, scalable, and cost-effective? This is a very spicy question, to be honest, and many of our inventions would fail at this point. Let me tell you a little bit of a story here before we dig deeper into this question. I don't know if you heard this story, and I'm not sure if the story is actually true, but the catch of the story is fair enough. Let's put it this way. It is said that when NASA started sending astronauts to the outer space, they faced the problem that they cannot write with an ink pen, because ink depends on gravity to flow. Out there in the outer space, there is no gravity, and therefore the ink pens are not working. And it is said that NASA has spent millions of dollars to invent a gravity-free flowing ink, which can be used in the outer space. Actually, a better solution and a simpler solution would be to use a pencil. So now you see my point. From a scientific point of view, developing a gravity-free flowing ink is something incredibly scientific. But from a business perspective, since the purpose is just to write, it's much better from business perspective to use pencils and not adopt this very expensive technology of gravity-free flowing ink. Another story that was told from a factory here in Egypt, again, I guess the story is not typically Egyptian, but it's everywhere. It is said that a guy who owns a factory for soap production, he has a line, a packaging line, that will put every soap bar in a soap box. But because the line is so quick, sometimes some empty boxes are getting out of the line with no actual soap bar inside. This was causing an embarrassing problem for the manufacturer, and he consulted some scientists who advised him to use an expensive IR machine with a detector that can tell which box is empty and which box is actually filled with a soap bar. One of the simple technicians working in his line came up with a much simpler and a very low cost solution, which was to put a fan on the line. So basically an empty box will just flow away and the filled box will continue on the line. So again, from technology perspective, having an IR detector with the ability to sense which box has a soap bar and which box doesn't is great. But from business perspective, this is not cost effective. A simple fan would do the job, and therefore the idea was killed. Now, one thing that I personally noticed in Egypt, in Europe, and I guess everywhere, that scientists tend to fall in love with their ideas. You're a PhD student, you're a postdoc, you have been working on an idea for like 5-6 years of your life. You have to fall in love with it. And you try to defend that idea as if it's like one of your children. But this is now not how business see things. Again, you need to step back and be as honest as possible, avoid any sort of biases, and ask yourself, is your solution realistic, scalable? And scalable means, can you produce thousands of this idea? Is it so easy to produce thousands of this idea? And is it really cost effective or not? Back to Laila, her answer was, yes, my idea is realistic. It's very, very scalable because, of course, microorganisms takes very low cost to reproduce. They can grow extremely quickly. And it's very cost effective because the technology itself doesn't cost much. Those 1, 2, 3, 4 questions are about the idea itself. Now we will compare the idea or challenge the idea versus others, versus competitors. First question here is, who is going to buy your solution? You need at the very first stage of your business development is to think, who is the market segment who will really benefit from your idea? Who is going to buy your invention? Because if you cannot figure out a clear customer segment, you will struggle down the line finding who on earth will buy my invention. Again, back to Laila, I asked her whom you're going to sell to. Would you sell to the zinc nanoparticles producers, or would you sell to the scientific community, or would you sell to the end users, like selling a little production facility to every big farm so that they can produce zinc nanoparticles by themselves and just add it to the feed afterwards? There is nothing wrong, there is nothing right here, but you need to figure out a clear customer segment who is more likely willing to pay for your invention. Then, what are other solutions to the same problem? Back to Laila's story, the typical competitor was chemical production of zinc nanoparticles. So there is a chemical process where you put several reagents and then you produce zinc nanoparticles. This is how things are done. So this is the typical competitor. Now you have to put your idea versus your competitors and ask yourself, why would someone use my solution and not the other solutions? Again, please be as much honest as possible when answering these questions. And you need to find a very solid fact answer for this particular question. So you can say, I produce 10 times higher yield, which means at the time they need to produce 1 ton, I can produce 10 tons of the same material. Or I am of lesser harsh production conditions, because several countries and factories are aware of the harsh effect on environment based on chemical industries. So the minute you tell them, you know, guys, I can produce the same amount with less toxic effects on the environment, people would rather switch to your technology. Or maybe you can be cheaper. So you tell them the cost of production of 1 ton of zinc nanoparticles using my technology is 50% less than the current production cost. If you cannot reach such a strong statement, you really need to think if your idea should be pushed to the market. Because if you're producing, let's say, if you're developing a new technology that only offers 10% or 5% extra advantage on the current technology, I can tell you, industries will not move on to your technology. There will be no adoption for your technology. So you really need to have this sort of significant impact on industrial scale so that people would take your invention. Coming from pharmaceutical background myself, I can also tell you there is a lot of new molecules that are produced every single year by scientists around the world. But since they are not providing a significant advantage over the current ones, they are just kept in the lockers, just put in the publications, and they will not see the light of the market. So we have new antibiotics, we have new painkillers, we have new anti-cancer drugs. They are new, but they are not adding a significant effect to the ones in the market. So the industry are not adopting them, and they end up just for literature purposes. Okay, now we come to phase 3, which is your idea versus you. So the first phase was your idea alone. Second idea was your idea versus others. Now, third phase is your idea versus yourself. First question here is, do you have the skills and experience to push this idea forward? Now, there is no right answer, there is no wrong answer, but answering this question honestly will help in the coming stage where I tell you how to generate money out of your idea. Because if you answer, let's say, back to Layla's story, if you have the production background, at least you have a team that can do the production, so you can handle the project yourself. I will tell you how to generate cash this way. But if you tell me, you know what, I'm a scientist, I have no idea how to do production, I have no idea how to do sales, it's not the end of the world. I will tell you again how to make money out of your invention in different ways. Now, this is a more tough question. Do you have the passion to realize this idea? In so many different stories, pushing your idea to the market needs you to be a full-timer with your idea, which means quitting your academic job. Now, this is dependent on cultures. Here in Egypt, for example, in the Middle East, if you're an academic, it's so hard to leave your academic position because it took you so many years of your lifetime to become a university professor or an associate professor or a postdoc, and to quit all of this and go away, probably you will not be able to get back. So here in Egypt, for example, we have a silly law that if you quit the academia for 7 years, you cannot get back. So you will lose the dream of being a professor, you cannot be a scientist anymore. Now, this is why I'm telling you this is a tough question. Would you leave your academic job to be a full-timer with your idea? Do you have this type of belief in your idea? Do you have this trust in your idea? Yes or no? So again, there is no right answer. There's no wrong answer. But if you decided that no, I cannot leave my academic job to follow my idea, that typically might win or might lose, there is even a solution for that. And the solution is form a team. If you're hearing around with tech startups in your ecosystem, you will find that there is always a team behind every successful startup. It's not a one-man show. Someone will take care of the business side of things, will be the CEO, Chief Executive Officer, and there will be someone taking care of the technical part called the CTO, Chief Technology Officer. With biotech and life science startups, we have a title called SO, Chief Scientific Officer. So if you are a scientist at the university, you can take care of the scientific part, but remain and keep your academic job, and therefore someone else will take care of the business part, the sales and marketing, and so on and so forth. But you really need to decide on this very early on, because success comes with a cost. I have never seen a successful story that has been done in the spare time. You really need to put effort, sweat, and a lot of time and stress behind your ideas to push them to the market. Okay, I wish that you answered the previous questions as honest and as clear as possible. And just I finish this part by 3 do nots. Please do not assume that your PhD research question is a good business idea. And I've already tapped on this. Again, as scientists, we tend to fall in love with our ideas. This is not correct. Please follow the scheme to decide whether your idea can withstand the pressure to the market or not. Second point, please do not assume that people just don't get it. I guess this comes to the common scientific problems. You know, guys, we all have a personal ego as a scientist. You're a PhD holder, so of course you're, let's say, a smart guy or a smart lady. Yes. And when you tell your idea to someone and they just don't get it, your first defense mechanism will say, you know what, he just don't get it. So the idea is awesome, but people doesn't get it. Problem is, those people who don't get your idea are typically your customers. So if they don't get the idea, they will not pay for it. And if they don't pay for it, you will not have a company, period. So it is a tough balance, but you need to explain your idea in a way that people can get it and even buy it. So they get money out of their pocket to pay for your idea. Third is, please do not answer the previous questions by yourself and get feedback. A little piece of advice here is to share this way of thinking with people you trust and people who can give you honest feedback, people who will not tell you you're awesome, just go and do it. People who will tend to challenge your idea, people who will be as honest as possible with you. Last but not least, within this first stage of my talk, I want to tell you a summary of a huge time of studies and conceptualizing how things are done in the business perspective, and tell you that for us, a business to be successful, there is 3 and only 3 pillars of success. And below those 3 pillars, we can classify anything that can cross your mind that is related to business. And to be honest, if you want to forget anything from my talk today and get home with only one message, so this is the message that you want to get home. There is 3 pillars for a successful startup idea, and those are: you need a problem, you need a solution for the problem, and you need a client who's willing to pay for the solution. So a problem, a solution, a client who's willing to pay for the solution. If any one of those three fail, unfortunately, your idea will not make it to the market. Okay, so this is the first part of my talk. I would love to give you 5 minutes to reflect on this and to take questions, if any. So if the organizers would love to open the chat for 5 to 10 minutes, just to make this talk as much lively as possible, please probably write down your questions in the chat part. I will be very much willing to answer if you have any question in the previous part. Okay, I guess we don't have questions for the previous part. And we move on to the second part. Okay, now your idea has passed the scheme check, and all the answers were positive. You have an idea that looks okay to be pushed to the market. Now, let's think and discuss, how would you make money off this idea? Now, if we're speaking about biotech and pharmaceutical scientists, typically when we go through these discussions, they immediately think that an invention that can go to the market is a new drug. Developing a new drug is, of course, an amazing invention, but it is very costly, very risky, and the success rate is extremely low. But you need to think of other things. So besides therapeutics, think of developing a diagnostic. So probably your idea, if it doesn't work as a drug, you can modify it to work as a diagnostic. It can interact with a certain, so if you're developing, let's say, a new molecule that can interact with a specific target, and you thought first of having this as a new drug, but it didn't work as a drug, think of using it as a diagnostic. So this interaction can catch like a biomarker, and it can work like a diagnostic. Think of developing novel materials. Those of you who are coming from pharmaceutical background probably know the story of PLGA, the polylactic glycolic acid. It's polymer invented like a couple of decades ago by an Austrian scientist. He simply put together two organic acids that are naturally present in our body, lactic acid and glycolic acid, and he connected them through a very simple hydrolytic bond, and a bond that is simply broken in water by itself. And he developed this polymer that can carry drugs and circulate them in the blood. It is 100% safe, 100% biodegradable. It took the FDA approval, and now so many sustained release injections are built using the PLGA polymer. If not, think of services. There is a lot of stuff that we can do to support the production of drugs, production of diagnostics, production of novel materials. And as scientists, we should not limit ourselves into inventing something new. We can also invent new services to offer to our colleagues and to offer to our industries and our societies. Now, let me take you through this very exciting example to tell you those 8 ways of, or several ways of making money out of one single idea. Let's assume, for the sake of this exercise, that together we are the team that invented glucose strip test. Of course, you're all aware of this test. It's a simple test, polymer based on a strip. You put a small, tiny drop of blood on it, and then put it into a little device that can tell you how much glucose sugar is in your blood. Okay, so congratulations, we just invented the glucose strip test. What or how can we make money of this invention. First would be the most common sense. It's a business model called design, produce, and sell. So we did the design. Let's build a big factory. We do the production. Let's hire some sales team. So we do the sales. Therefore, we make everything. And actually, this is the most profitable business model. So we make a lot of profit. However, it's the most hard one, the hardest one, because it's a little difficult to have all these types of experiences as a scientist. Okay, but if it happens that you have a team that can handle production and sales, please go for this one. Let's open a factory, do the production, do the sales, and make a lot of money. Okay, now let's come to the most common case among scientists. Okay, Omar, we don't have experience to produce or even to handle a team that can do production, and not to speak about sales as well. What I do recommend to all my fellow scientists and colleagues is this business model called invent, patent, and license. Now, this invention, you need to work with a very strong patent attorney, so lawyer who is specialized in developing IPs and patents, to develop a very strong patent protecting your invention, and then sell this invention or license this patent to companies that can use it to produce and sell. Here, I want to highlight that this is much easier said than done. Everyone think, okay, I have a new invention. Typically, I will get an IP and people will be in need for my invention. This is not true. You need, again, to check the scheme of questions we discussed about your ideas, because from day zero, you need to check if your idea is worth patenting or not, because patenting is expensive and it has to offer a significant improvement to the industry for people to pay and license your idea. Can you hold on, please? I'm having a little problem with the connection. Yeah. Guys, do you hear me?
Yes, doctor, you're clear.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I got this message that the connection is not stable, but I'm happy it's figured out now. Okay, third, let's say we were not the first, after we invented and patented those glucose strip tests, we want to make more money out of our invention. So let's think of tailoring to other indications. Since we invented the technology, we can think, okay, why not we tailor this invention to test other molecules in the blood? Let's do pregnancy test, let's do cholesterol test, let's do amino acid test, so on and so forth. And this is actually a good idea because several companies in the market now are just taking old inventions, tailoring them to new applications, and then reselling them again to the market. So also think of tailoring current technologies to new applications. Another way of thinking is, okay, you have the technology, but you don't want to sell and you don't want to basically license to others. You can offer the measurement service directly. I guess all of you guys know about the company called 123andMe, which is the company doing DNA analysis to tell you which race you came from. So it tells you that your family is like 70% from Africa, 30% from Asia, 10% from Europe. It's a funny test actually, but they made billions of dollars in sales out of this technology. So instead of selling those algorithms out there, they kept them for themselves, and they are selling the service instead of selling the technology itself. What else? If you find that the market you're entering with your idea is a market dependent on continuous sales, so as in this example, a patient with diabetes will be measuring his blood sugar for life. you can offer them a subscription purchase plan. So you tell them, okay, guys, give me $100 in advance every month, and I will send you a bag that contains all your needs for measurement throughout the month. So back to a real case situation, if you have ideas that are not very inventive, but they solve a chronic problem, you can sell them as a subscription purchase plan. Now, let's say you came to the market of the strip test a bit late, so you're not the inventor, but you came to the market and there is like 10 companies already producing the glucose strip test. Can you still make money out of that? The answer is yes. Think of launching a marketplace for glucose strip test. What is a marketplace? Marketplace is basically, or typically, a website or a mobile application that hosts all the service providers. So speaking of this example, let us launch a website that contains all the producers of glucose strip tests and blood strip tests in Malaysia, where they will compete with each other for the benefit of the customer. They will put their offers, they will do price wars together, and at the end of the day, you take commission on the sale. So whoever is buying through your website, you take 10% commission, and you basically make money out of the competition. So as you can see, one idea, glucose strip test, several ways of adopting this idea to the market. Now, those are some questions to help you decide on which business model would you choose for your application. Are you providing a product or a service? This is again a pure strategy question. It's up to you to decide whether you prefer to go for production or you prefer to go with a service. Second, do you have the capacity to produce yourself? We already discussed this question. Where are your customers? Because if you're selling locally, it's way totally different from selling online to the whole globe. If your customers are everywhere, you will design your business model very differently from selling your product or service in your own country. And finally, what is exactly the customer pain that you will be relieving? Is the pain that the customer doesn't have the needed product, so you will be relieving the pain via production, increasing the production? Or is the pain is just with distribution, so you will buy the product from a producer elsewhere and sell it online? Is it the measurement, so you will offer the measurement as a service instead of offering the product, and so on and so forth? Just be clear what is exactly the customer pain you will be relieving. Again, and by the way, all those slides are free material. I'll be sharing the slides at the end with the organizers, so you can keep them. No need to take notes. It's totally free material. Just remember us in your dua and spread the word so that more and more, inshallah, good scientists will push their ideas to the market. We already touched on this. So the production, design, produce, and sell, the invention and license. And just again to highlight, you need to work really with a strong patent attorney, a lawyer who is specialized in patent writing, offering services, understand the problem and offer the solution. If the competition is too fierce out there, make a marketplace and make money out of the competition. Remember the idea of subscription if you are solving a chronic problem with repeatable purchasing process. And last but not least, the freemium model, where you offer something for free and then people would upgrade and move from the free state to the premium state. Then they start paying you money. And therefore the name freemium came from free and premium. Okay, now we need to touch on the very important story of how do you make money or how would you get funding for your study? Because as you can guess, all of those scientific inventions need a lot of money to be pushed to the market. And what I will be doing now is to tell you where to get money for every stage of your startup, from the idea stage till the let's say advanced stage and late stage. So let's start with this timeline. So you will see here this little icon of a decent guy with the idea, and he is now at the idea stage. The idea stage is defined as the pre-proof of concept, which means you are in the lab, you just think that you can, let's say, invent a new drug for diabetes. You don't even have a proof of concept for this, but you do have a good theoretical and good logic behind your suggestion. So how would you get money? Actually, this is the hardest phase, because no business will ever put money behind an idea that didn't even achieve proof of concept state. So you need to go for university grants. Each country, of course, they have their own granting bodies. Here in Egypt, we have only 2 granting bodies called the ESRT and SCF. But typically, you will find your university offering grants and innovation funds for such ideas. They are tiny, they are small, but all you need is a very basic proof of concept just to go out of this stage. Now, you got your proof of concept. Congratulations, alhamdulillah. It seems that your idea is working, or at least primarily working. Okay. Now you can take your idea and go to the so-called incubator programs or accelerators. Incubators and accelerators are, or at least before Corona infection, it used to be a physical place. So you go there, they give you an office, they give you 6 months to 9 months of training, business training, business dinners, training on financial planning, IP rights, consultancy, legal training, everything you need with your company. And after the full incubation program, there is typically the so-called demo day or demonstration day, where you go on the stage, and then the incubator will invite investors from all the country or from the region to attend. Now, this is all done virtually. So you get your trainings online, you get your incubation program online, and even the demonstration day, the pitching day is done online. At this stage, you are a more confident young businessman, as you can see. So you entered the training as a young scientist. Now you are more of a young businessman, very confident, and you have at least a strong business plan, and you know what to ask for, and you know what do you need. Excuse me for a second. Sorry. Okay. Now, at this demo day, you will meet several investors, and those investors will start talking to you, and probably and hopefully you will start getting small checks of money for people who wants to have part in your idea. Let's get to the following stage. Now, we get to the early stage, which is now, as you can see here, you were post a proof of concept, but you were pre-revenue. So you are not generating money out of your idea yet, but it obviously works. I forgot to tell you that the incubator programs and the accelerator programs actually give you a bit of money as well. So besides this training, intensive training programs, you get a bit of money to help you move from just the proof of concept to early phase of generating revenue. So you get few clients, you get a bit access to the market, and now you're ready to the next stage, which is called the early stage or the early revenues stage. Here you will be talking to the so-called angel investors. Angel investors are wealthy individuals
who love the game.
I'm sorry?
It is number 3, early stage, not number 2. I think there is a mistake.
No.
Sorry.
Yeah. Just so early stage post-proof. So both are called still early stage, but one is a pre-revenue and one is yearly revenue. So started now generating revenues. Thank you. Okay, so the business angels are wealthy individuals, people who have decent amount of money, and they love the idea of startups, of invention, of high-risk ventures. And the game goes like this. Let's say I'm a high net worth individual. I have several millions of dollars in my bank account, but I do love the idea of startups, the invention. So I think, okay, why not I sort of risk a couple of millions of my wealth? I do have a lot, and I will take $2 million of my bank account and divide them into so-called investment tickets. I will give every startup that I believe in $100K US, and therefore I will have like 20 companies. So angel investors will go and attend those demo days where to reach out to startups. They will attend conferences. They will attend all these types of business meetings to find you guys. And it's very, let's say, assuring and relaxing to know that those people are looking for you the same way you're looking for them. Because if there was no brilliant ideas out there in the market, the whole investment system or the whole investment industry will fall down. So don't worry about money, just be worried about actually producing an idea that's worth investment. Okay, what will happen is they will meet you in those conferences, and they will buy shares in your company, something between 50K to 250K. But you really need to know that they are expecting results in 5 to 7 years, which means you should be at the stage where your idea is going to the market, or actually you started generating revenue, as I mentioned here in the title, and this is the phase where they will get in. If you pass this phase, now you're becoming a late stage company, you will be talking to a different class of investors called the venture capitalists, the VCs. And the VCs are also equity investors, which means they will give you money and get shares in your company, but they really require you to have high amount of sales, or if you're developing a drug, you should be at a very late stage of drug development. So you're in like clinical stage 2, ready to sell to a big pharma company. You need money to go to clinical phase 3 or just to do the final sales. This is where they come in, but they come in with huge amount of monies. They can typically give you tickets between $0.5 million and $50 million in fund. So this was the business talk part. Now I will move to the personal stories part, and for the sake of time, I will move questions to the final Q&A session in few minutes. Okay, so this is my first company, or let's say not first in time perspective, but let's say the one that actually succeeded, called Nawah Scientific. Of course, you can realize the name in Arabic. Nawah is the Arab word of nucleus, and the word nucleus can immediately clicks with all types of scientists. If you're a chemist, you're speaking about nucleus, nuclei, and nucleus. If you're a physicist, if you're a biologist, so it's a good name. And also, there is a metaphor where you say, we are building the nucleus of a big thing in the future. So it also has a very positive meaning to it. Alhamdulillah. Now, we are solving the problem that is present here in the Middle East, where there is a lot of bright-minded scientists and only a bunch of insufficient and outdated research facilities. So there is obviously a gap between both. And here in Egypt, there is even an additional aspect to the problem, where you need to go between cities and universities to get your analysis done. This wastes a lot of time and money. And I don't know if you know this, here in Egypt, a master program will typically take between 5 to 6 years. I guess in Malaysia, it's about 2 to 3 years. Here in Egypt, we waste a lot of time just because of this. We don't have all facilities in one place, so we keep running around with our samples to get stuff done. So what was our solution? Okay, we called it a cloud lab. Basically, we built a central hub in Cairo, the capital of Egypt. We brought all those machines, or most of the machines, the high-tech research equipment, the cutting-edge facilities put in one place. We brought a very high caliber team to operate those equipment, but we offer our services online and on demand. Let me show you how. So these are some photos of Nawah and the great scientists we have in the team. This is our website. I guess there is a missing slide here. It's okay. Our online model, so we offer our services online, as I just mentioned. So basically, if you're a client, all you need is to log onto our web platform, and then you will find a long list of services that we can do for you. All you need is to register your samples, go through a typical online shopping experience where we ask you some details about your samples. You pay online, and then that's it from your side. Our platform will talk to the courier platform through technology called APIs. Secondly, you will get the courier at your doorstep asking you, "Salam alaikum, Dr. Omar, can I take your samples?" You give him your samples, he transforms the samples to our labs, we do the analysis, send you the results back online. So the beauty of what we're doing is, actually, regardless of your location and regardless of the university you work for, you can do amazing level of research in a very short amount of time. So we really added a significant value to all those who are working in the scientific field and help them really move to the next level and do a very different level of research. We've been in the market for 6 years. We analyzed over 100,000 samples, and coming from 3,500 clients, and we have clientele in 12 countries, and we managed to raise for this model about $3 million US, and inshallah we're working on a very significant additional round of about $7 million more, inshallah. Yeah, for Nawah, we won several actually international competitions. So I'm just keeping this here to tell you that alhamdulillah, Nawah went really well. And Nawah is an example of a service-based company. So you can see services can really also be successful companies. Now, the second company is called Omnisomes SA, which means we founded this one in Geneva. We were solving or working in the field of transarterial, in the field of cancer therapy, liver cancer therapy. So without a lot of technical details here, just let me tell you that liver cancer is one of the, you probably know, most very aggressive types of cancer. And the first line of treatment is usually resection. So the physician goes and cut out the tumor part because the liver tissue can regenerate really quickly, mashallah. Now, if this first line fails, the second line is the so-called transarterial chemoembolization, and simply the physician will go with a catheter till the point of the tumor, and they will inject some embolic material that will prevent blood flow to the tumor. The tumor should be deprived from blood flow, and therefore it will get fibrosed and it will die. What happens actually is that tumors fight back by inducing the so-called angiogenesis, which is they tell the body to create some new blood vessels for them to counter the embolic effect that was induced in the operation. Therefore, the treatment involves not only the introduction of the embolic material, but also we put some drugs on those embolic material. and therefore the name comes transarterial chemoembolization. So there is a chemical part and the embolization part. Now, so far, no invention. This is what actually happens in treatment. Okay, so where is the problem? Here is the problem. The problem is only water-soluble drugs can be loaded onto those embolic beads. And if we're speaking about anti-cancer drugs, of course, many of you know that the more powerful anti-cancer drugs are water-insoluble. But you cannot put them or you cannot load them on those beads. And the option you can do is to give them through a systemic dosing. So you tell the patient to take pills of those nasty drugs, or you give them as a separate injection. Therefore, the patient will suffer from huge level of side effects that you don't want to happen. Okay, so as I told you, water-insoluble drugs are not taste-ready, meaning they cannot be loaded on those embolic beads. What we developed is actually a simple yet innovative technique. We call them the omnizones. They are drug carriers. They can carry those water-insoluble drugs, and they manage to load them onto the beads in one step. So in the market, there has been several ideas. In publications, you can see several ideas of solving this problem. But if you remember my discussion about the idea level, our idea was the simplest and the most cost-effective. One step, get the thing done, and it's not expensive. Okay, so what was our business model? Our business model here was invent, patent, and license. We went to have a full patent, but before we did the patent, we had the customer in mind. So let me tell you this. We studied the market and we realized that the market leader in treating hepatocellular carcinoma is called Nexavar. It's a molecule, the active name is sorafenib, and the company is the German giant Bayer. The patent protecting sorafenib will go away in 2020. Of course, this story was back in 2014 when we founded this company during my PhD. And Nexavar, sorafenib, was a blockbuster. A blockbuster means a drug that sells for more than $1 billion by itself. There is only quite a few of blockbusters around the world, and this was one of them. So a single drug that sells for more than $1 billion US. What happens is, as I told you, the patent will expire in 2020. So we went to Bayer and we told them the following. You know, Bayer, your drug will, the patent protecting your blood, your drug will expire in 2020. And there is a huge parallel market worth of $1.6 billion called the transcatheter embolization market. You cannot go to this market because your drug is of very low water solubility. But using our technology, we can help you do two things. We can help you extend your patent because you will add another technology if you took our technology to your technology, and you will enter the 1.6 billion market of transcatheter embolization, which means you can very simply make a lot of money again and extend the shelf life and extend the patent life of your application. It was a very strong proposition, very strong story. We went to Bayer with this story, but the surprise was that Bayer were aware of this problem already, and they developed the second generation of sorafenib that is more water soluble. So they were not willing to develop this idea further, but at least we knew that we spotted an actual problem with the industry paying a lot of money for it. And what we're trying to do now is to sell this idea to other small pharma companies. We also got some very decent awards for this invention. And here you can see Geneva in the background. Last but not least, this is the company that actually did quickly. I'll take just a couple of minutes here. The company is called Nawah. Nawah is about treatment of opioid overdose. For those of you who read about this story, opioid overdose in the US is actually a very big thing. People who are dying with the opioid overdose every day are higher than those dying with gunshots and car crashes combined. Okay, even Obama, before he left the office, one of his last decisions was called Obama Act to counter the opioid overdose, and one of the act decrees was that every caregiver should be able to give the antidote of opioid overdose, which is an injection of naloxone. So if you're a teacher at the university, if you're a sports coach, if you're an instructor at a gym, and if you find one of your clients or attendees falling with an opioid overdose, you can rush to them, give them an injection of naloxone. So basically teaching everyone how to give an injection. Now you can see this is a very complicated way of treating the opioid overdose, but this is the current technology. So what can we do? Problem is very complicated. Our solution was an inhalation device, tiny inhalation device, which actually depends on a technology that one of my friends in Geneva developed. It's called tight junction openers. And tight junction opener has been there in the market for a while, but the new invention was more efficient, significantly more efficient, more fast, more rapid. I will spare you all the technical details just to jump to the business part. Our business model here was we will go develop, produce, and sell. We found a pharma company that was ready to buy the whole thing, and or let's say not buy the whole thing, partner with us to do the production and sales. We had a clear market segment who was going to pay for the invention. Everything was in place. This was the team. So my dear friend Shakti, who did the actual invention, I would take care of the operations, and this is our dear professor back in Geneva. We won also a couple of awards for that, but then the whole idea died because the patent failed, and we could not protect the invention at the end, so the pharma company refused to pay the money and the whole project fell apart. Okay, so thank you so much for your time. I hope at least in the last part, I touched on several parts or several stories of a company that is doing services, which is Nawah, a company that is doing more of drug carrier, so licensing technology, and a third one was more of a drug pharma company. And you can see how every one of them was pushed from the idea where we realized the actual problem into pushing the idea to the market. And of course, some of them will succeed and some of them will fail. This is how life goes. So I will be back to the floor is back now to the organizers, and I'm open for questions. I know we have about 10 minutes left, and I'm happy to take your questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Doctor, for your enlightening talk. So while waiting for the participants' questions, can I ask one question?
Of course.
What sort of challenges you have faced in your entrepreneur journey, and what advice you will offer for the new researchers and entrepreneurs?
Speak about the challenges, I would say finding the team was hard, and fundraising was also hard. For the advices I would give to my fellow colleagues, I will tell them to focus on the problem and to let go of our personal ego, because it's a very common problem that, as I told you, we fall in love with our ideas and we do not accept feedback, and we think low of people who challenge our ideas. Actually, those who challenge our ideas are the ones that enlighten spaces we are not looking into, and people challenge your idea and you're able to find stable and solid rock answers for those questions. This will take you to the next level. So be open about getting feedback, be open about people challenging your ideas, and learn to work in a team. A problem that I find here very common in Egypt is people are not willing to form a team because they say, my partner will just take my idea and go somewhere else. But I tell them, if you're not willing to make a team, if you're not willing to partner, and if you're not willing to quit your academic job to push your idea yourself, this is the simple equation for killing your idea. Because if you're not pushing it, if you're not partnering with someone else to push it, so who will push the idea to the market? So those will be my 3 cents on this question.
Here we have one question from Jawad. Thanks for your comprehensive information. My question is, how can we protect our invention?
Okay, thank you for the question. This is, of course, an important question. If your invention is very novel and very inventive, you can apply for a patent. Let's say you're developing a new drug, if you're developing a new diagnostic, something no one else have thought before or no one else have developed before, the simple way is to apply for a patent. But if your idea is about a service business model or a marketplace or any of the other business models that cannot be protected by a patent, the actual protection would be, and believe me when I say so, quick execution. So you take your idea to the market really quick, you grow really quick, you dedicate resources, you fundraise, you hire a team, and then you really run quickly in the market. Run very quick to the extent that when people start to realize what are you doing, you will be already in the next level and it will be very hard for them to follow. So Nawah Scientific is this sort of argument. We are providing analysis. So in theoretical sense, everyone can do the analysis we can do, but because we focus on very rapid growth, people tend to come and partner with us instead of competing with us or replicating our idea.
If you have
other questions,
please feel free to post in the chat box. We'll answer your question shortly. So I have other questions, as it's about the drugs. So what do you do if any drugs are already expired?
I'm sorry, if what would I do if what?
If the drugs already expired. But it has some validation date.
I guess I'm having problems. Yeah, I guess I'm having problems with the connection. The line is now breaking. I'm sorry, can you repeat the question one more time, please?
The question is, if any drugs already expired, then what do you do?
If the drugs are expired?
Yeah, then what do you do with that drugs? So if you sell the drugs to the shopkeepers or other companies, so if it's expired, so they cannot sell. So in that case, what they can do?
If you're talking about expired drugs, like in the pharmacy, the expired drugs are typically are returned to the manufacturer. I'm not aware I got the question behind, but if you're speaking from inventive point of view, they're taken back to the manufacturer, where they're recirculated again, repurified, and then resold.
We have one question here. At the first stage of the inventions, do you seek help from an expert to do the feasibility study?
My answer is yes, but be very careful whom you ask for help, because those who come in the early stage should be really honest with you and should be really helpful, because they can harm the business early on. So you don't go to anyone and share your idea with. Pick up people with a good track record of being honest and helpful.
Thank you, Doctor. We have another question. What are your thoughts on taking a biotech company public versus having it private?
This is a strategy question. So there is no right answer, there is no wrong answer. It depends on so many different factors. It's about the market, it's about the industry, it's about the solution they're providing. It's about also their means of funding. And the question is, can be stretched to other types of startups. Would I keep the company private or should I go with the company public in terms of funding? So this is a very open question, to be honest, with so many factors to judge the answer.
So thank you, Doctor. Till now, we have no questions. So dear participants, don't forget to fill up the attendance form. The certificate will be given based on the attendance form. So if you have any questions, still you can post in the chat box. We'll entertain shortly. So we'll take on group photo at the end of this talk. So please prepare yourself. So if no more questions, then we can move ahead.
Okay, thank you everyone for having me today. And I will also share the slides to the organizers, and the slides contain my personal contacts. So feel free, if you have some questions afterwards, to get in touch with me via email or something, and I'll be very happy to answer, inshallah.
All right, thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor, for valuable
insight. Thank you, Dr. Omar, so much. No. Sorry. Okay, move ahead.
So just a quick reminder, once again, for the participants, the attendance link has already posted in the chat box. So the certificate of participations will be given based on the attendance. Please don't forget to fill up the attendance form. Now, I would like to invite the Honorable President of the Egyptian Students Associations at University Putra, Malaysia, Dr. Noor, for the closing speech. Dr. Noor, you are welcome on the stage.
Thank you so much, Zuhur. Thank you so much for this great presentation, Dr. Omar. It really was our pleasure to have you tonight with such beneficial information. On behalf of all the students in UPM, not only the Egyptian or Palestinian, thank you for the time and the effort. And we are going, inshallah, to share the slides and your personal contacts with other students. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Now let's take our group photo. So dear audience, please switch on your camera.
Do you believe Dr. Omar email?
Please switch on your camera. We'll take a group photo shortly. So I'll be counting from 3 to 1. We have 2 pages, so please keep calm. Please switch on your camera and don't forget to show your best smile. All right, so I'll be counting from 3 to 1. Please don't forget to show your best smile. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. I have 2 pages, so please keep calm. All right, thank you. I have captured all the beautiful smile from all over the world. So ladies and
all right, thank you, Doctor.
I would like to remind all the participants once again to fill up the attendance form. The attendance link has already been posted in the chat box. The certificates of participations will be given based on the attendance form. On behalf of the organizing committee.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you please write down the email of Dr. Omar?
Yeah, sure. We'll share the contact address later. No worries.
Okay.
So if you have any questions later, you can contact with our distinguished speaker. So on behalf of the organizing committee, once again, I would like to thank you all for actively participating in this webinar. We are looking forward to meeting you all again at our future events. I apologize for any flaws and technical issues. With that, I, Mohammad Johar Islam, signing off and wish you all the best. Take care and stay safe. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.